Good morning to all my dear children. In such a bright morning, let's begin to learn science. So, students, today we will be continuing learning lesson number 1, Living World and Classification of Microbes. So, student, in our previous lecture, we had learned what is hierarchy system of classification, its levels, and also what is binomial nomenclature. Students, now moving further to the next topic, that is biodiversity and need of classification. First of all, what is biodiversity? Students, biodiversity is the shortened form of two words, biological and diversity. It refers to all the variety of life that can be found on earth, that is plants, animals, fungi and microorganisms, that they form and the habitats in which they live. So students, what it means? Biodiversity means all the living things that are found on earth and on which particular region they live for their survival. Last year, we learned that all the living organisms on earth have adapted according to geographic regions, food ingestion, defense, etc. While adapting, many differences are observed in the organisms of same species too. So students, in standard 7th, lesson number 1, we had learned about the various adaptation in plants and animals. And we also know that adaptation, that is gradual changes, are necessary in the organism to adjust to their surroundings. According to 2011 census, around 87 million species of living organisms are found on the earth, including land and sea. To study such a vast number, it was essential to divide them into groups. So groups and subgroups were created considering the similarities and differences among the living organisms. This process of dividing living organism into groups and subgroups is called biological classification. So students, now let us see how the living organisms are divided into groups and subgroups. So students, the process of dividing living organisms into groups and subgroups was first done by Robert Harding Whittaker from 1920 to 1980, who was an American ecologist. In 1969, he divided living organisms into 5 groups. For the classification, Whittaker, who was an American ecologist, considered following 5 criteria. Let us study one by one. The first one is complexity of cell structure. So students, under the cell structure complexity, two terms comes. First one, simple cell structure and other complex cell structure. So here you can see prokaryotic and eukaryotic. So students, the simple cell structure comes under prokaryotic cell. Prokaryotic cell has its cell complexity in a simple manner, and prokaryotic also means lacking of distinct nucleus and other organelles due to absence of internal membrane. Students, the word prokaryotic is divided into two terms. First, pro and second, karyon. Pro means false and karyon means nucleus. The cell which lacks nucleus and other organelles in it is known as prokaryotic cell. The second term is eukaryotic cell. The cell which is having a complex structure, that is known as eukaryotic cell. What does eukaryotic means? Eukaryotic is derived again from two terms. The first one, eu, that means true, and karyon, that again means nucleus. So, the eukaryotic cell are those cells that has a well-defined nucleus and other cell organelles in it. Students, here you can see the picture of prokaryotic cell and eukaryotic cell. You can also make out the difference in them. In prokaryotic cell, you cannot find different cell organelles, and also there is no well-defined nucleus. And in eukaryotic cell, you can see various cell organelles named as Golgi apparatus, endoplasmic reticulum, lysosome, etc. And also you can see a well-defined nucleus at the center of the eukaryotic cell. Second criteria for classification is complexity of organism. What does complexity means here? Here, complexity means the number of cells present in a particular organism. Two terms are given. First one, unicellular or multicellular. Here students, unicellular means single cell animal. Uni means one or single, and cellular is the word given for cell. So the organisms which are made up of single cell are known as unicellular animals. And the second term is multicellular. Multi means many, and cellular again refers to a cell. So organisms which contains or which are made up of many cells are known as multicellular organisms. Students, here in the picture you can see the example of unicellular organism and multicellular organism. Unicellular organism is amoeba, where all functions are performed by single cell. Hence, it is a unicellular organism. And example of multicellular organisms are many, but we ourselves are one of the best example of multicellular organism. That is, different tissues and organs perform different functions. That is, our human body is made up of many cells. The third criteria for classification is mode of nutrition. What does it include? How the intake of food is different in various organisms is included in modes of nutrition. The first mode is adopted by the plants, that is autotrophic nutrition, which is performed by photosynthetic method. So students, what it means? In plants, the mode of nutrition is through autotrophic mode, and autotrophic means preparing their own food. So, plants prepare their own food with the help of photosynthesis process, and such mode of nutrition is known as autotrophic. Autotrophic means preparing their own food, and organisms which prepare their own food are known as autotrophs. Example is plants. The next mode of nutrition is saprophytic. And students, what does saprophyte means? Any plant that lives and feeds on dead organic matter are known as saprophytes. So, there are various plants, especially fungi, which absorbs from dead organism, which lives and feeds on dead organic matter. So hence their mode of nutrition is saprophytic. The third mode of nutrition is heterotrophic, and this nutrition is adapted by animals. Heterotrophs means animals which cannot prepare their own food but they depends on other for their food are known as heterotrophs, and the example is animals and we ourselves. Students, for our food we are dependent on plants and animals. So, our mode of nutrition is heterotrophic. Here comes the picture of first mode of nutrition that was in plants, and it was autotrophic mode of nutrition. The next picture is about saprophytic nutrition, which is done by plants, and in plants all fungi do the same thing. That is, all fungi that lives and feeds on dead organic matter are known as saprophytes, which was the second mode of nutrition. The next mode of nutrition, that is the third one, was heterotrophic nutrition, which includes all animals and we all human beings also. And it was that we cannot prepare our own food. For our food, we are dependent on animals and plants, and animals are dependent on plants. So, in short, organisms which depend on other for their food are known as heterotrophs, and they adapt heterotrophic mode of nutrition. The fourth criteria for classification is lifestyle. What does it mean? What does lifestyle include? There are three terms comes here: producers, consumers and decomposers. So, students, plants are known as producers, animals consumers and fungi decomposers. Why they are known so? Students, plants are known as producers because they prepare their own food. They produce their own food. Animals are known as consumers because they do not prepare their own food. They consume their food from the producers. By eating the producer, they consume it in them. Hence, they are known as consumers. And fungi are known as decomposers. Why they are known as decomposers? Once the plant is dead or once the animal is dead, they feed on the dead organic matter. Hence, they are known as decomposers. They are again composing the energy while eating the organic matter. So, plants are known as producers, animals consumers, fungi decomposers. Here comes the picture of the lifestyle of plants, animals and fungi. Here in the producer you can see grass, where grass is a plant and it is known as producer because it prepares its own food. Now, various animals are dependent on grass, like grasshopper will eat grass, so it is consuming energy from the plant, that is our producer. Hence, the grasshopper will be our consumer, and which is an animal, and after the grasshopper dies or the plant gets decay, what's going to happen? Comes the decomposer, which is the fungi, which feeds on the dead organic matter. So this is how the lifestyle is carried on. Fifth criteria for classification is phylogenetic relationship, where two terms are included: prokaryotic to eukaryotic and unicellular to multicellular. Students, phylogenetics is mainly concerned with the relationships of an organisms to other organisms according to evolutionary similarities and differences. So hence from prokaryotic to eukaryotic and unicellular to multicellular. So students, this was all the different criteria used for the classification. In our next lecture, we will be learning 5 kingdom system of classification. Hope so students, you all have been understood today the different criteria used for classification. To get your concepts more clear, re-see the video repeatedly. Thank you students for paying attention. Goodbye students. Have a nice day.